activist and community off-campus leader for the greater Sacramento area and throughout California. He's the president of Camp Quest West, an executive member of the Secular Coalition of California, and the lead organizer of Sacramento Freethought Day. He's also the volunteer coordinator for the Atheist Film Festival in San Francisco. He teaches part-time at the University of the Pacific in Stockton, California, and he's going to be speaking to us about venturing off-campus, how to successfully work with off-campus groups. So please give a warm Sunday morning welcome to David Diskin.
Thank you. Thanks for the introduction. Thank you to the SSA for allowing me to present and speak and help you guys out a little bit. Thank you all for waking up before noon in Vegas. I think that's an accomplishment on your own, so I applaud that. And yeah, I'm going to talk about venturing off campus and working with off-campus groups. I know some of you were expecting a talking cat today, and I'm sorry to disappoint. Is it Emily that came here just for that? But my cat couldn't make it today. So let's talk about, first I'll just give you a brief background of myself, my history, and my involvement in the movement. I never went to meetups. I was not involved at all in college campus groups. I never went to conferences, any of those kinds of things. I was involved in my local community near Sacramento in a small place called Lodi. I was a volunteer of the year. I lead and still do a leadership program for adults that are there. But atheism and atheist activism was never anything I was interested in at all. I was a dormant atheist until 2009. And the city council, for the longest time, had been starting off their city council's meetings with prayers, invocations. And another atheist, someone who I had never met, never knew about, was at one of these meetings and complained to the FFRF about these invocations. And that made some news when FFRF threatened to sue my little town. Things escalated quite a bit. A lot of Christian fundamentalists got upset about that. People from all over the region came to support the Christian side. And much to my surprise, as I'm at home, barely paying attention to any of this, probably playing Final Fantasy on the PlayStation, all of a sudden atheists started to get together. And I found out about this and I said, hey, you know, I'm not really doing anything. I want to be involved. I want to be a part of this. And so I did. And before I knew it, I ended up being the coordinator for this small group in Lodi, a city of 50,000 people, maybe 50 of whom are atheists, and ended up getting on Fox News and talking all about what's going on. And what I learned from this is that the same stuff that I applied to bringing together volunteers for things like the Chamber of Commerce and the local schools, I could also apply to the local atheist community. After I discovered that there actually was one, and that's this group right here in the background. I learned how important it is to bring people together, and that is what we're talking about. Lo and behold, not a few more years later, I would discover Camp Quest. I would become the president of Camp Quest. And so ironically enough, I want to thank all the Christians in Lodi for awakening me and turning me into this atheist activist who loves to help kids and help people out. Thank you. Thank you to the Christians for that. By the way, quick reminder, we are looking for counselors, and so if you're interested in helping out this summer or any summer, please come and see me. We have Camp Quest locations all throughout the United States and a couple overseas and one up in Canada. I would also end up organizing, a couple of years later, the Sacramento Freethought Day, an event that is now the largest free outdoor festival of its kind, with the exception of the Reason Rally, of course. Certainly in California, last year we had over 300 attendees. In fact, some of the people I see in the audience have been speakers there. A great event outdoors for fun and family and kids and students and seniors. And in this picture is a mix of all of those kinds of people. Specifically, the reason I'm here to talk about today, bringing together the college campus groups with the off-campus groups. Also, another reminder, Freethought Day this year is in Sacramento on October 12th. And I do invite you guys. I hope you can make it out there. So let's talk a little bit about the Sacramento community and what we've built up there. We formed at some point the Sacramento Area Coalition of Reason. We are basically good without God. You've seen billboards like ours all throughout the United States. And the Coalition of Reason in Sacramento is made up of these 9 different groups. There's the Sacramento Freethinkers, Atheists, and Non-Believers. There's AOF, who just celebrated their 20th anniversary. Altogether, we have something like 1,600 members of all these different groups, and I'm sure some of that is overlap. You may have heard of the Brights. The Brights were founded in Sacramento. And it's not just these groups up here, it's also, more importantly, the 4 college campuses that we have in Sacramento: UC Davis, Sac City, Sac State, and Sierra. And I know a lot of you are here today. Thank you also for being a part of this. And so these groups are all part of a Sacramento Coalition of Reason. We put together some billboards at some point, spread them out throughout the Sacramento region. Of course, a couple of them did get vandalized and torn down. But this website that you see here, Sacramento Core, if you go there, it takes you to a page that lists out all of the campus and off-campus groups. So it didn't matter if you're a senior citizen driving down I-80 and seeing that, or a college kid going to school, taking the bus or whatever on your way to work. People were finding out that we were here in the community, and they were, more importantly, learning about this connection that they could make, learning about the student groups, and learning about the off-campus groups. So, let's actually get to the meat of why we're here. We all have needs, right? And it doesn't matter if you're an off-campus group or if you're a campus group. There are things that you need, and there are things that we can help each other out with. So let's look at these two groups from these 2 different perspectives. We'll start with you guys, the college students, and what your needs are. You need membership, you need people, you need bodies, preferably breathing bodies, maybe even bodies that can help you out, right? And so you need membership. Let's not forget that these off-campus groups, a portion of them, attend your schools. They might be part-time students, they might be alum, they might be grad students, maybe they're just in the community and they stop by once a semester for a summer class. But these are potential members for you that are already members of these off-campus groups. You need funding. And I know you get some money from your college, your university, you get some money from your membership, you get some money from SSA or grants. But let's face it, a lot of these off-campus group members, they have money. Maybe not a lot, maybe they do have a lot, and they can often help you out. So you need funding. You need resources, not just people and money resources, but things like vans and audio-video equipment and expertise and guidance and all of that kind of stuff too. These are people who, for some of them, have been in your shoes, maybe not recently, maybe 20 or 30 or 40 years ago have been in your shoes, but they still have that guidance and those resources that can help you out. Maybe they own a printing shop and you need posters. Maybe they own an accounting firm and you need some tax advice because you want to go 501c3. Maybe they're a lawyer and you're about to have a little bit of a battle with your campus. And so these people can be resources for you and they want to help you out. They're often looking for scholarships. I can't tell you how much money goes wasted or unclaimed with a lot of these groups that have scholarship money that they want to give out to you that no one applies for, or they don't get a lot of people involved or interested in. So there's always that opportunity too. All right, let's flip the hat or the other way, flip the sign the other way, and let's talk about what they need, things that you can do to help them out. Most, I think, prominently, at least from my perspective, is they need venues. All of the groups, I showed you how big the Sacramento Coalition of Reason is. We don't have a single building or property or place to call our own. I mean, we have people who have nice homes, sure. But we don't have churches or halls or anything along those lines. If we do have an event, we have to pay a lot of money. There's the Sacramento, the Sierra Center. That costs us like $800 to have an event there. If we rent something out of the library, there's restriction of hours. You have to plan it like 6 months in advance. And so one thing that they need for sure are venues. And how about that for a synergy? When you've got, let's say, UNLV, and you've got amazing places like this room and upstairs and everywhere else on campus, or even just renting out outside, the option to come together and bring these venues and people together. They need volunteers. And I don't know how big your group is, but often you can help volunteer stuff for them. And I don't just mean at their events. Sure, you can help out with check-in, you can do decorations and set up the tables and chairs. But you guys, let's face it, you're a little bit more savvy with the social networking, the graphic design, the communication, getting out there, all that kind of stuff. You know that 100 times better than most of the people in these off-campus groups. So you can help them with that. Now here's another one. How many of you guys have little brothers and sisters? A couple of you do. How many of you babysat them every now and then? I know you hated it, but one of the biggest challenges that off-campus groups have is childcare. They want to have meetings. They want to have, these regular monthly meetings or these big giant events, and they lose a lot of attendance. They lose a lot of potential attendees because there are parents, there are families, and they just can't go because they either can't find a babysitter, or it's too inconvenient, or they can't afford one. And what better way for you guys to help them out than to say, yeah, I'll attend the event off to a side, off to the room in the back where the kids don't make too much of a noise, and you guys do the childcare for that, so that way the parents can just come to the event, hand the kid off to you, enjoy the event, pick them up, and go home. No money is exchanged, although you could ask for a donation, and I suggest you do, and then they leave, and everyone's really happy because everyone got to participate. They need speakers. And Dan's right here. I'll give you a great example. We wanted Dan to come to Freethought Day, and when we talked about that initially, that may have been a cost for us. That may have been to have him come out to our event and speak, flights and everything else and schedule. And then we said, well, hold on a minute. We got like 4 college campuses right out here. We've got all these other college campuses in the area. Why don't we see if we can make the most of Dan's time and money and bring him out here to not just be a part of Freethought Day, but also be a part of all of these college campuses and visit them as well. And we did that, and that synergy allowed us to bring him out at minimal cost. I think all we did was just pay for like half the flight, or maybe SSA paid for your flight, I don't remember exactly. But it was extremely affordable for us, and a great way to form a partnership with these different groups. What these off-campus groups need is a purpose. They need to feel like they are connected. They want to feel like they are a part of the movement, especially the younger generation, the students that are here right now. They want to see that. What they want is hope for the future. They want to know that the clubs and the groups and the organizations and the nonprofits that they're building right now are going to continue on after they do. Because you guys, theoretically speaking, are the future members of their groups, maybe even the future presidents of their groups. And they want to know that it's just not going to die off at some point, that you guys are going to succeed them. And so they want to feel that as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about, there we go, there's the connection between the two. So let's actually get out a task list. And I do have handouts, I'll give it to you guys on the way out so you don't have to write this down. But here's a few practical things that you can do. Number 1, join your local coalition of reason. Go to unitedcor.org and find out if there's already one in your city or state. If there is, great. If there isn't, well, maybe you talk to the local people and make one. It takes 3 groups in a region, and that's subjective. It's a subjective term, and that's okay. If you have 9 or 12, great. If there's already one there, great. But if not, maybe you're the person to get that motion going. But there are already United Coalition of Reason groups all throughout the United States. There is at least 3 or 4 dozen of them. So find out, and if not, get one started. Here's the Las Vegas Corps, and I do see UNLV on the list, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. So kudos to you guys for being a part of that. Second thing you can do, make a list of your local groups, and maybe even your regional ones too. Find out who runs them, what their website is, their contact information. Maybe even jot down in a column what their vibe is. Are they a skeptical group, a humanist group, a UU group that's pretty liberal? Are they an atheist hardcore group? And make a note of that so that way when you communicate with them, you can tailor your messages and your events specifically to how they operate. There's a couple resources I can give you to make this list building process a lot easier. Meetup.com, of course Facebook, United Coalition of Reason, and the Secular Coalition of America. The lobbying group, SCA, has built an amazingly extensive list. When we asked for the list for California, they gave us over 200 atheist, free-thinking, skeptic, non-religious groups. And I'd say a ton of them were in Sacramento. And so just reach out to SCA and ask for that list. I'm sure they'll be happy to give it to you. Third thing you can do is an elected ambassador. Now, I know a lot of your groups have presidents and secretaries, treasurers, PR people. Make somebody the ambassador to these off-campus groups. That person needs to have a flexible schedule. Maybe they're only part-time on campus, but they have the time to go out to these meetings and meet with these people. It should be a local resident, it doesn't have to be, but it should be somebody who's already got some connections. Maybe they already know people, they certainly know their way around town, and most importantly, they're not leaving for the summer, right? Because that's when a lot of these events happen. In fact, that's when most of them happen. It should be somebody who's dependable and mature and can connect with these folks, especially because they're a little bit of an older audience, somebody who can really form that connection with those off-campus groups. And so here's just an example of, step number 4, examine your content. This is a Facebook page for one of our UC Davis chapter, Agasa. Look at it from their shoes. Put their shoes on and look at the content that you're producing, whether it's a flyer for an event, or it's your Facebook page, or your meetup site, or whatever it is you guys have. And there's a few tips I want to give you when you look at their content from their perspective. First, you might want to have a non-Facebook presence. Even if it's just a simple web page that all you do is just have contact information and a direction to Facebook, a link to it, or maybe you occasionally post your bigger events on it, because not everybody is on Facebook, and if they're not on Facebook, they probably aren't on Twitter either. And so if you think that you're going to get the word out to off-campus people using Facebook or posters on campus, it's not going to work for them. So if you want off-campus people to come to your events, find ways to communicate outside of Facebook and certainly off-campus. When you list information about your events, make sure you have basic contact information, phone numbers. Believe it or not, people like to use those. Those off-campus groups love to call people and say, where can I go? How can I buy a ticket? So make sure you have current, easy-to-find contact information. And the most important one for me, because I do quite a bit of marketing, the stickler that always gets me is when I see a campus group advertising an awesome event, and they don't put anything on the page about parking and directions. And unless you live at that campus, and I know, of course, a lot of students do live on the campus, but if you are from off campus, you have no clue, even if you've been living there all your life, unless you went to school there, you have no clue how the parking works, where I need to buy a parking thing if I do after 5 p.m. You have no idea where building 107 is or any of that kind of stuff. And so if you want off-campus people to come to your events, make sure you've got a little section there about how to get there, how to park, where to find the building, and so on. Because just plugging in that generic address to your GPS, that's not going to help you get there, especially on these large campuses like UNLV. Fifth thing you can do is make a connection. Actually, with your ambassador, go out there and attend their events. Meet with them in person, get introduced to them. Regularly attend any leadership meetings they have. Not all the time, but every now and then come by, stop in, reintroduce yourself, tell them about your group and what you're doing and upcoming events, and find out how you can help them and let them know how they can help you. So go out there and be a part of their leadership and what they're doing. And number 6, certainly optional, is plan a joint meeting, a joint event every now and then where you can get together with their people and you hang out, maybe at a social thing, maybe it's a fun thing, you go bowling or you have dinner or whatever it is that you guys do. Plan an event specifically for the purpose of getting off-campus and on-campus people together. Even if it's just once a quarter or once a year, have that really cool, fun-sounding kind of event that brings people together. And this is a tough thing, but make it off-campus. Because if you really want to reach out, you need to take a step further than they are. And that means to take this off campus at a place that's easy for them to get to. I don't mean it has to be like 10, 20 miles away. It can be just right next door where you guys can walk and they can drive and there's plenty of parking. But have an off-campus event, make it easy to get to. Probably want to have it in the evening because a lot of these folks work 8 to 5 jobs. You might even want to consider having it on a weekend. But it's definitely something you can do to build that bridge with these off-campus groups. And when you're at the event, make a little agenda of things you want to talk about. Share successes, talk to them about what you're doing on campus and the tabling event that you had or the debate that you're coming up with, all kinds of stuff like that. Number 7 is to integrate your calendars together, especially for big events. And when I say this, I don't mean the little tiny events, the weekly meetings that you have up in the conference room. I don't mean the tabling that you're doing all the time. I mean the bigger stuff that you think that they might be interested in. And likewise, promote their events to your group as well. If you can, if you want to, try and find some technical ways to link your calendars together. We've got our core set up. The Sacramento Core webpage has a Google Calendar on it, and that Google Calendar takes RSS feeds from all of the meetup groups and all of the blogging groups and all of the Facebook groups and brings them together into one dynamically just bloated calendar that when you look at July or you look at August, there are a million things going on, which is what we want the community to see when they saw those billboards. And so whether you do it manually or you do it automatically, try and bring these calendars together for the big events that are there. Now, I want to wrap up talking about maximizing your events. A couple things that you can do. If it's your event, get them involved. Find a way to bring them in, to make it something that they want to come to. I talked about spreading the word. You want to spread the word early. Don't talk about the event a week before it happens like we tend to do way too often. I'm talking 2-3 months in advance. Often, I've tried to persuade local groups, you know, that sounds like a really cool event that you just told me about, but it's happening next week. Can we push it back a month? Can we push it back 2 months? It'll still be just as awesome. It'll give you more time to prepare, and it'll give me more time to announce it and promote it, and for people to put it on their schedules. So spread the word early. If you really want off-campus groups to come, weekend afternoons or weekday evenings are probably your best bets. Again, I'm a stickler on those details. Parking, how to get there, directions, all that kind of stuff, contact information. And then go with them to their meetings and promote it at their meetings. Show up, announce it, confirm that it's on their calendars, on their website calendar, in their newsletter, whatever it is that they're using to promote stuff, make sure that your event is on their site as well. You might even consider being a part of bringing one of them into your planning committee. If they've got somebody who's really connected, have your student group plan the event and have them kind of come in peripherally with a little dotted line as your planning committee liaison to the outside world. That way you have even more resources and more help to get that information out there. This is a big one. Make donations early, easy. How many of you guys can take a credit card payment right now, swipe with your phone or anything like that? Yeah, a couple of you. Now you can all take cash. And if I give you a check, is it a pain for you guys to take checks? Some of you can, some of you can't. Adults are happy, off-campus folks are happy to give you guys donations, but make it easy for us. I can't tell you how many times I've wanted to buy a t-shirt or buy a pin, and I don't have the cash on me, and when I give them my credit card, I'm more than happy to swipe, they can't take that. Or they're having an event. We had this issue at Sac State where we had a really awesome event come out, and buying tickets was a real difficult process. And sometimes we get lazy, and so make it easy for us to give you our money. Cash check, web pages, all that kind of stuff. Now, if it's one of their events, and you want to help them and be a part of what they're doing off campus, don't be afraid to ask for stuff. I can't imagine any scenario where we would turn down a campus group coming to us and saying, hey, can we have a table? Can we sell some shirts? Can we tell people about an event? Can we sell some buttons? Or can we sell the soda at your event to raise a little bit of money? Absolutely, of course you can. So don't hesitate to ask for stuff. Ask for free or discounted admission. If they're charging for their event, ask them, can we get discounts for student IDs? If they have a $70 fundraising dinner thing, can they discount for students to $30? Or can you guys offer to help out with the event and get in for free? Anything along those lines. Whenever they're having big, huge events, ask for a tiny little speaking opportunity. Maybe just 5 minutes on stage to promote your next event or to just let people know what's going on with your college group. Or be a speaker even. You know, you guys have things to offer to them, and sometimes they're looking for speakers. So maybe you become one of their next speakers, or introducing a speaker, or anything along that spectrum. Offer to help out. If they're having an event, offer to design their poster. Offer to put their posters up on campus. Offer to help promote it on Facebook. Offer to go there and do the decorating of the childcare and take donations, or offer to man the check-in table. And when you're there at the check-in table, you're asking for donations, or you're handing out information about your campus group, anything along those lines to, again, build those bridges and kind of weave yourself even deeper into what they're doing. In summary, join the Coalition of Reason, or make one if you haven't already. Make a group list and contact those people using your elected ambassador. Examine the content that you have and make sure that it is off-campus person-friendly. Make those connections, plan those events that are going to work with them, that celebrate the connection that you have with the two groups or multiple groups. Integrate your calendars together. When you have events, get them involved, do it early, do it often. If they're having an event, ask to find out how you can help. So that's basically the gist of it. Is there anybody that has questions? It looks like we've got about 5, maybe minutes or less. And that's my time. Yeah.
Not really a question, more of a comment in light of Evan's talk. Support is just like the ambassador do a really good job for an alumni.
Brilliant idea. Yeah, Evan was talking just a few minutes ago about what alumni can do, I should say alum, and that is a great way. If they're in the community still, they haven't ventured too far, yes, be that ambassador to connect those two groups. You bet. Any other questions or comments? Yeah, Greta.
What are some pitfalls of working between?
Pitfalls.
Are there things that often happen that can be avoided?
The number one thing that happens that can be avoided is the poor announcement or planning of events that just don't get to the off-campus group soon enough. And then little minor details, like I said, I'm really super picky about, making sure people know how to get there and how to pay for the event and all that. Is there a fee? And if they brought money because they didn't know ahead of time that they're off campus, there's a charge. And so the pitfall that you can avoid is just to make sure that all the information is out there, it's early, it's easy to find and discover and read and understand, and that there's an actual human being with a phone number or an email address, or both, that anybody can just click on or call and get that question answered. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Dan?
You could add to the contacts to let national groups know too, because they have a mailing list.
That's
of
right.
people in the area that may or may not overlap with the regionals.
Yeah, if you're having a really huge event, yeah, contact FFRF, contact American Humanist Association, even contact the National, excuse me,